Welcome to New Possibilities, Truth to Power Without Fear. So, for this live stream, I'm going to continue my discussion about Donald Trump's executive order and their impact on Black people. I talked about some of the executive orders in my last video. I talked about the executive order uh, lifting a moratorium on the death penalty, calling for the death penalty to be implemented. I talked about the executive order ending DEI programs. I talked about the executive order redefining um, naturalized citizenship in this country. And now I want to go into a little bit more detail about another executive order that impacts DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and also equal employment opportunity. So if you can bear with me, I'm going to pull up the language from this executive order. And the executive order, for those of you who don't know, is entitled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity. And basically, to sum it up, Donald Trump is trying to get rid of equal employment opportunities for Black people in federal government. He's also trying to get rid of various aspects of DEI. And in my last video, I mentioned how he's not just going after, DEI when it comes to federal government. He is trying to weaponize the Justice Department to make sure that the private sector also eliminates DEI programs. So this is not just confined to, people that work for the federal government. It's going to affect businesses. So it's no wonder that you are hearing these announcements every other day about another company getting rid of DEI programs. So far I've heard about Walmart, McDonald's, even Meta, owned by Zuckerberg. I've heard about them scaling back diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is only the beginning. This is, it's only been a couple of days that this man has been in office and he's already wreaked havoc on our civil rights. He's already undermined our civil rights. This executive order, entitled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity, it revokes very important prior executive orders. It revokes Executive Order 13583. That's an executive order that was designed to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the federal government. It eliminates that. It eliminates Executive Order 11246 of September 24 of 1965. That's the Equal Employment Opportunity Resolution. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. I'm going to read from that resolution so you will have a full idea of the impact, the detrimental impact that this executive order is going to have on African Americans. As I mentioned, he's going to encourage the private sector to end, DEI initiatives, what they label as discrimination and preferences. And, we have to understand that Donald Trump is really flipping things and turning things upside down and inside out. He's calling efforts to end discrimination. He's calling efforts to promote opportunity. He's calling those efforts discrimination. And he's labeling white people as the victims of this discrimination. So there's a lot to be said about this. He wants to encourage the Justice Department to enforce civil rights laws, quote unquote, to encourage the private sector to end discrimination and quote unquote preferences. Also, he wants to issue guidance for state and local education agencies that receive federal grants or participate in federal student loan assistance programs. So this man wants to use the power of the federal government to influence and to end diversity, equity, and inclusion in our schools, you know, from the grade schools all the way to the colleges. You know, as I said in a prior video, they want to get rid of Black history. They don't want to teach about, you know, about the true history of this country. They want to gloss over history and create a romanticized Disney World, Walt Disney version of American history. You know, where slavery wasn't that bad. You know, where the history of Jim Crow and all that stuff is glossed over. That's what they want to create. And Donald Trump is using the federal government to push this right-wing agenda. That's what he's doing. You know, so schools that don't go along with his program, he's going to try to cut funding from those schools and take other action against those schools. Shout out to everyone tuning in. So that's, you know, those are some of the measures that he's taken with this other executive order. And so what I want to do right now is talk about this one executive order that he revoked. And that's Executive Order 246. Again, that's 11246. That's an executive order that President Lyndon B. Johnson passed in September of 1965. And I'm going to read some excerpts from this very important executive order that Lyndon B. Johnson passed and that President Trump has revoked. So this executive order talks about how, you know, President Lyndon B. Johnson gave a speech at Howard University where he talked about his strong belief in civil rights and non-discriminatory practices. And this is what President Lyndon B. Johnson said. He says, "Thus, it is not enough just to open the gates of opportunity. All citizens must have the ability to walk through those gates. This is the next and the more profound stage of the battle for civil rights. We seek not just freedom, but opportunity. We seek not just legal equity, but human ability. Not just equality as a right and a theory, but equality as a fact and equality as a result." That's what President Johnson talked about in this executive order that President Trump just revoked. You know, this goes on to say Executive Order 11246, signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson on September 24th, 1965, establishes requirements for non-discriminatory practices in hiring and employment on the part of U.S. government contractors. It prohibits federal contractors and federally assisted construction contractors and subcontractors who do business with the federal government from discriminating in employment decisions on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. So Donald Trump has decided to revoke that. He wants to revoke a provision that prohibits contractors and subcontractors who doing business with the federal government from discriminating people based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. So essentially, this man, Donald Trump, is giving the federal government, he's given these contractors the right to discriminate. Essentially, he's doing that by revoking this executive order that prohibits that kind of discrimination. This executive order also said, and I'm talking about Lyndon B. Johnson's executive order, it also says, it also requires contractors to take affirmative action to ensure that applicants are employed and that employees are treated during employment without regard to race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. So Donald Trump is making it clear what his agenda is when he revokes this kind of executive order that was designed to end discrimination. And in Donald Trump's twisted mind, and MAGA's twisted mind, the effort to end discrimination is, in fact, in their mind, a form of discrimination. And that's why they're getting rid of, this particular executive order. It goes on to say, it remains a safeguard. He's talking about this executive order. It remains a major safeguard protecting the rights of workers employed by federal contractors, which includes approximately 1/5 of the U.S. labor force, to remain free of discrimination on the basis of their race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin, and open the doors of opportunity through affirmative action provisions. So this is what Donald Trump is trying to get rid of. This is what he is trying to eliminate with his executive order. These are some crazy times that we live in. And this executive order talks about, placement goals. It talks about data collection and other provisions. But Donald Trump is making it clear what his agenda is, by eliminating, an executive order that was designed to end discrimination, to address the problem of discrimination. And again, that was in 1965, shortly after the passage of the Civil Rights Act. And you had this Donald Trump reversing, the progress that was made. And the thing that's so crazy about this situation is you have Black people that actually support Donald Trump. I was watching a video on TikTok where you had this Black man, this older Black man, asking people what's wrong with them, why did they vote for Kamala Harris, and he's questioning the 80% of Black men that voted for Kamala Harris. He's suggesting that something is wrong with us for voting for her, when really something is wrong with you as a Black man supporting a white supremacist like Donald Trump. And, I've talked about this before, like Donald Trump is getting rid of DEI, getting rid of equal employment opportunity. He supports voter suppression. This man has eliminated affirmative action through his appointments to the Supreme Court. And, those appointments agreed to strike down affirmative action. This man supports immunity for these police. This man supports stop and frisk in Black communities. Donald Trump does. Stop and frisk was found to be unconstitutional by a federal court in New York City. They found that it was discriminatory. But yet and still, that is the plan that Donald Trump supports. while Donald Trump claims to be all about blue lives, quote unquote, and protecting the police, he just freed a band of white supremacists that stormed the Capitol. We're talking about 1,500 people that he freed, and I did a prior video on that. And many of these people are right-wing racists, who attacked police and raided the Capitol and damaged property and all kinds of things. But these are the men that Donald Trump felt fit to free. And the scary thing is, these people get the sense, as was mentioned on, several news programs, all this does is embolden these right-wing militia crazy people to make them think that they can do whatever as long as it's in support of Donald Trump. None of us are safe in such an environment. These people are like Donald Trump's own Gestapo or his own private militia. And it's crazy that any black person in their right mind would support a man that's freeing these white supremacists. It is crazy that you have black people that support a man that was sued twice for housing discrimination. It is crazy that some ignorant, small, minority of black people support a man that called for the death penalty against those young brothers who were falsely charged with the Central Park rape case. And the list goes on and on. They are supporters of a man that referred to African countries as shithole countries and talked about how America needs to get more people that come from places like Norway, a predominantly white country. That's what Donald Trump said out of his own mouth. But yet and still, you have these ignorant black people that actually support this man. Despite all of that, you have black people that are actually on the internet supporting Donald Trump. And you have these people that told you to hold your vote, and you see what holding your vote has gotten you. You held your vote and helped a white supremacist regain power. That's what you did. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Yeah, it's just a crazy situation. So I had to get on here and talk about that particular executive order. It's very disturbing. When I read that, that he's basically trying to get rid of equal employment opportunities in this country. But yet and still, you have some ignorant black people that support this man. And as far as I'm concerned, those ignorant Negroes that support Donald Trump, they are no different than those ignorant black people that served as slave catchers for the white man, for the white slave master. They are no different than the people that ran and told the white man about the plots of Gabriel Prosser and Denmark Vesey. They're no different than the sellouts and turncoats who were informants in the Black Panther Party who gathered information that was used to destroy and assassinate and lock up Black Panther leaders. They're no different than those people. They are enemies of the people. They are a disgrace to the black race. And I told y'all, after this election, once Donald Trump won, I told y'all I was going to ride these black Trump supporters until the wheels fall off. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. This is what you have empowered. You've empowered a man that's trying to eliminate our civil rights. you're empowered. You have empowered a man that's trying to get rid of, um, naturalized citizenship in this country, which will impact many black people in this country, because immigrants are not just from Latin America. And the sad thing is, some people were so distracted by their hatred towards the LGBTQ community that they allowed themselves to get played like fools. They were so hateful and they had so much animus towards the LGBT community that they missed the fact that the whole time while Donald Trump was distracting them with smokes and mirrors about LGBTQ issues, he was planning to implement policies that are detrimental to black people. This is the man that's about the oligarchy, the white oligarchy. He's not about doing anything for your black ass. And as I said in my prior video, these people that were quote unquote holding their vote, what did you hold your vote for? Donald Trump is not even willing to support diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you know damn well that he's not going to support any reparations. And I see that Nagon 11 said that FBA, ADOS, B1 all said sit this election out or vote for Trump, which is crazy. That tells you just how delusional these people are. That tells you how useless these people are. They literally made it possible for white supremacists to become president, but yet and still they want to pretend like they are actually fighting against white supremacy. Many of those groups, they do more fighting against their own people than they do against the system of white supremacy. So shout out to Ghost Rider, shout out to everybody in the chat. I had to spend a few minutes with y'all talking about this. And again, I want to remind people that don't know, we have the book club. We meet on the last Sunday of each month at 2 p.m. via Zoom and in person. So hopefully, if you're in the area this coming Sunday, you can tune in to our Zoom meeting, if you're out of the area. And if you're in Baltimore or the surrounding areas, come through and holler at your man in person. We're going to be talking about all, Things Fall Apart, which is a classic novel written by a brilliant Nigerian writer. So I hope to see you there. It's going to be a great discussion as usual. We'll have light refreshments for the people that are actually in person. So yeah, I hope to see you there. And if you're really down with us, you can rock some New Possibility gear. And shout out to Dave for, designing the shirts. But yeah, with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings. The struggle continues. And the last thing I want to mention is something that Day had mentioned to me. Like, we were talking and, she mentioned this, it's one thing to complain about the problem. And all of us can complain about the issues, but the real question is, what are we going to do about it? And, one of the main things that needs to be done is, the civil rights organizations around the country need to continue to do what they do, and that's fight these measures in court. Because now we effectively don't have a Justice Department anymore to promote civil rights. So it is up to the people and the civil rights organizations to fight in the courts with every ounce of energy that they have. This is what it's all about. It's moments like this that remind me of why I went to law school. We have to fight in the courts. Even if, the odds are not in our favor. We still have no choice but to fight and let it be known that we fought the good fight. You know, Donald Trump, you know, once this man has only been in office a couple of days. And the Supreme Court is already far to the right. If this man is able to appoint any more justices to that court, that's the end of our civil and human rights in this country, man. That's the end of our constitutional rights. And it is ushering in an era of dictatorship. You know, that's what I fear. But we have to fight. You know, our ancestors and elders dealt with far worse than this. They struggled at a time when there was no social media. They struggled at a time when, you know, Jim Crow was the law of the land. Separate and unequal was the law of the land. You know, that's the situation that they grew up in. And even before then, you had our ancestors in bondage. This is, you know, just a continuation of the struggle that we have endured as a people in this country. So we need to step up our efforts, step up our game, use our voices on this social media, and use, not only talk on social media, but get out in those streets and put in that work. If you are not a part of an organization that's fighting for our people, you need to join one today. You need to donate to civil rights organizations today. You need to be involved. It's not enough to sit on the sidelines and gripe and complain. Get involved and join the movement for change in this country. So those are a couple of things that need to happen to see the change that we want to experience. Yeah, so Grant Harvard said, we got to be ready to sacrifice our lives for our kids. Exactly. Yeah, these are dangerous times, man. You know, and this is only, again, a couple of days in. You know, I really fear for this country and for us. But I'm not a captive to fear. We need to overcome our fear and get into this fight. So with that, you know, I'm gonna say peace and blessings. You know, I encourage you all to, you know, people that are watching this after it's been posted, I encourage you to like this video, share this video, and hit that notification bell so that way you'll know when I post new content on here. And I'm really interested in hearing from you. Like, what do you think about what's going on right now? What do you think about these executive orders that are being passed? So peace and blessings, everyone. Have a good night.